Michael Saylor nurtured the dream of becoming a fighter pilot, but ended up starting his career working at McDonald's. Eventually, he became one of the youngest billionaires of his generation. Today, let's reconstruct the story of a modern visionary, an internet pioneer, and a fervent advocate of Bitcoin. Sometimes we say that those destined to become some of the most important and brilliant investors in history were considered fools by some. Some might have already grasped this. Today, let's talk about Michael Saylor, co-founder and CEO of MicroStrategy. We'll recount how he built his fortune by understanding the internet long before anyone else in the 1980s. Michael Saylor was born in 1965 in Lincoln, Nebraska, USA, as the son of an Air Force sergeant. His childhood was spent on various American military bases, where he observed planes taking off and landing, crisscrossing the sky. Passionate about science fiction, he dreamt of becoming an astronaut. With a sharp and brilliant mind, he excelled in school, consistently ranking among the top students. His academic prowess earned him an Air Force scholarship. The young American Michael chose to attend the prestigious MIT, where he earned a dual degree in aeronautics and astronautics, as well as in science, technology, and society, laying the groundwork for his future trajectory. It was during this time that he had a fateful encounter with Sanju Bansal, his future partner at MicroStrategy, but we'll return to that later in this video. Michael still harbored his dream of becoming a fighter pilot in the U.S. Air Force. However, a routine medical exam revealed a debilitating heart murmur, putting an end to his aspirations. In 1988, less than a year after obtaining his degree, he joined DuPont, a multinational chemical company, as a highly skilled software consultant. Constantly plagued by boredom, Michael soon considered starting his own business. Within the first 12 months at DuPont, he impressed executives enough to secure $250,000 per dedicated office and even a personal phone to launch his own projects alongside his DuPont responsibilities. During this period, his friend Sanju Bansal had also joined, and that's how they began building what would become MicroStrategy, with DuPont, in some aspects, as the first unofficial investor. Events unfolded swiftly, and MicroStrategy was officially established in 1989. About 2 years later, the company released its first data mining software product. Remember when I mentioned Saylor working at McDonald's? Well, that's not entirely accurate. In reality, McDonald's was one of the early major clients that signed with MicroStrategy for a $10 million contract. McDonald's quickly realized that MicroStrategy's solutions and tools would allow them to collect, manage, and analyze their sales data, significantly boosting the company's turnover. This marked the beginning of business intelligence, BI, and data mining. A small revolution was underway. This type of company was quite common, but MicroStrategy stood out for the efficiency and performance of these models. The mantra of the society we live in is a world of ignorance, and our mission is to remedy that. Today, companies worldwide are striving for their solution, including Nike, the North Face, USPS, 21st Century Fox, and many more. Over 900 companies use it, rebranding their production product. Just as Bill Gates' mission at Microsoft wasn't just to sell software but to ensure a computer in every office, MicroStrategy's mission is, in a way, to put a crystal ball on every workstation, making information available everywhere, anytime, and for everyone. Magic, fantasy, technology. Saylor loves this triptych so much that he included this Arthur C. Clarke quote on the back of the company prospectus: "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." MicroStrategy was founded in 1989, at a time when we were still in the early days of the internet. In 1989, there were no more than 100,000 machines connected to the network, which is why we often talk about Saylor as a visionary. He saw the potential of the internet, positioned himself, and explored its power above all. In an example of his ability to see the potential of new technologies, in the 90s, he bought all domain names he saw as successful. To get them, he apparently spent over $2 billion acquiring links like strategy.com, blog.com, wisdom.com, speaker.com, and even hope. Everyone thought he was crazy, but he was convinced that these web spaces would be worth as much in the future as owning land in Manhattan, a store on Fifth Avenue in New York, or having a site like chaussures.com. The world will accelerate its transition to the digital world, and he was well aware of that. Therefore, this information would be worth over $100 million, gradually reselling his domain names to companies that desperately needed them. A significant thing is that in 2019, he sold voice.com for $30 million. Quick note, hope.com still belongs to Michael Saylor. Today, it redirects to a page dedicated to the Bitcoin class. MicroStrategy is quickly becoming one of the fastest-growing software companies in history. During the 90s, MicroStrategy doubled its business value every year, averaging 2,000. The company is worth approximately $11 billion, employs nearly 1,800 people, and announces its 16th consecutive quarter of growth, reporting a profit of $3.8 million. This makes Saylor one of the youngest billionaires in the United States at 35. Yet, at that time, Michael lived in an old, more than common house and drove a Lexus with a dented door. An article from the Washington Post reports that on a Friday, March 17, 2000, Michael was on a plane returning to the United States from Europe. Upon landing in the U.S., he discovers that MicroStrategy's stocks had reached a new all-time high. He had just earned over $1 billion in just a few hours. However, as the saying goes, trees never reach the height of the sky. In the late 90s, more technology companies, especially those related to the internet, had stock market valuations completely disconnected from their financial reality. MicroStrategy was clearly part of the lot under pressure from the increasing rates. The bubble burst, starting in March 2000, extending to all stock exchanges and causing an economic recession. MicroStrategy's global stock plummets by over 60% in just a few hours. In 15 days, Michael sees his fortune decrease by about $10 billion. However, MicroStrategy survived and is doing very well. They recently released their third quarter results for 2023, recording a gross profit of over $100 million, an increase from last year. The last thing to understand is that MicroStrategy, before becoming a Bitcoin hedge fund, is a very profitable company with a business model based on selling products and services with an almost 80% margin. Keep that in mind for the future. Continuing, MicroStrategy has a wealth problem as it sits on a mountain of cash. Moving over 10 years ahead, in 2012, Michael published a book, The Mobile Wave: How Mobile Intelligence Will Change Everything. In this book, he explores the preparation and revolutionary impact of mobile technologies, such as smartphones and tablets, which are radically transforming our way of life, work, and access to information. The book is a true source of inspiration for anyone interested in the future of technologies and their ability to positively shape our world. If you haven't read it yet, I invite you to do so, as it adds depth and credibility to your current analysis of Bitcoin. Michael Saylor is intelligent, very intelligent. However, it's important to know that he was not initially an unconditional supporter of Satoshi Nakamoto's invention. Initially skeptical in 2013, he predicted on Twitter the imminent death of Bitcoin, especially due to the lack of a personality supporting the technology. For him, this new tool would experience the same fate as online casinos. It was only a matter of time before Bitcoin was banned by the states. Even Satoshi Nakamoto doubted his invention until the protocol was finalized. Almost no one in the forum where Bitcoin was shared in 2009 initially believed in it, as it seemed too good to be true. In summary, delving a little deeper into the subject, Michael Saylor also changed his mind. He witnessed the ecosystem develop and Bitcoin rise from its ashes cycle after cycle. Despite civil wars, internal crises, or even significant changes within the ecosystem, Bitcoin was like a freight train launched at full speed and would be very difficult to stop. After a year of testing, during which it became more efficient and more secure, Michael now explains that he considers Bitcoin the greatest opportunity of his life. Remember that he had already ridden the wave of smartphones and then social networks, and yet, according to him, Bitcoin is still above all of that. The potential of this new technological revolution is even more important, according to him. Satoshi Nakamoto's invention causes a profound revolution in the heart of a technology used by humanity for several millennia. Bitcoin can replace money, just as candles turned into light bulbs or horses were replaced by cars. Bitcoin represents a virtual bank in cyberspace led by uncorruptible software, simple and secure for billions of people. Bitcoin is the result of aggregating monetary energy into a software network, a concept that few can grasp. According to Michael Saylor, Bitcoin is between invention and discovery, a complex blend of rarity, digital monetary sovereignty, and absolute technological genius for implementation. There cannot be another Bitcoin, as he often emphasizes, due to the unique environment and context present at the time of Bitcoin's creation. These circumstances can never be replicated. This is what we call a path dependence factor, or path dependence. It's a fundamental concept to consider when assessing the likelihood of a new Bitcoin. A simple analogy can help illustrate this point. If Bitcoin were a dinosaur, it would be a T-Rex, the apex predator. In 2009, it started its growth. It was alone, ignored by everyone at the time. No one was interested in cryptography, so it had time to grow at its own pace, evolve, and learn from its wounds and heal. 15 years later, it dominates the all-powerful ecosystem. It's virtually impossible to kill. That's why it's also crucial to keep your Bitcoin safe. You have digital gold in your hands? Take it off exchange platforms. You will truly understand the power of these new technologies when you eliminate intermediaries and minimize counterpart risks as much as possible. Mongox, Bitcoin, ICA, BlockEF, Celsius, FTX, etc. History repeats itself cycle after cycle. But back to the subject of this video. In August 2020, while Bitcoin was hovering around $10,000 for several months, you decide to make a decisive change in your company's financial strategy. MicroStrategy, at that time, invested nearly $250 million in Bitcoin. It will then explain that this decision stems from its deep belief that Bitcoin, as the most widely adopted cryptocurrency globally, represents a robust store of value and a particularly attractive investment asset, with significantly higher long-term growth potential than mere possession of money that melts like snow in the sun due to inflation. He goes even further, stating that Bitcoin is simply a larger store of value than any other asset. Due to its decentralized nature and supply, Bitcoin is considered a vastly superior asset to traditional ones such as gold or real estate. This statement, along with MicroStrategy's acquisition of BTC, caused a bombshell in the crypto ecosystem, sending prolonged shockwaves through traditional finances. For some, it was the spark that ignited the latest bull market run since the announcement in August 2020. Michael Saylor continues to regularly communicate about his company's new Bitcoin purchases. As of this script, MicroStrategy holds approximately 158 tall 400 Bitcoins, acquired at an average price of around $30,000, amounting to an estimated treasury of over $4 billion at the current exchange rate. MicroStrategy's stock has risen by over 130% since 2021. However, concerns are now arising about the accumulation of Bitcoin in corporate reserves, similar to the arrival of BlackRock and ETFs, and the potential impact on network decentralization. In summary, there are worries that entities with significant Bitcoin holdings could exert unilateral control over the future direction of this technology. Personally, I'm not overly concerned. Bitcoin relies on an extremely powerful self-defense system, driven by the economic interests of all users, including individuals, traders, exchanges, miners, developers, and industry companies. Creating a company as large as MicroStrategy cannot unilaterally change Bitcoin's code. If it could, it would create its own Bitcoin and network, following Bitcoin in a non-coercive manner based on voluntary participation and free individuals. If it doesn't like the rules, Bitcoin is not its own. It simply needs to exit the network. It's no more complicated than that. On one hand, you often encounter directors, faculty economists, and journalists spending a significant amount of time discussing theory. On the other hand, you have visionary and productive billionaires like the Winklevoss brothers, Elon Musk, or even Michael Saylor, whom we've discussed today, Let us know in the comments which personality you'd like to see covered next. Thank you very much for watching until the end. Subscribe to the channel, and until next time.